Every trader believes that they're fighting the market. Like the institutions, the algorithms, the news, the volatility, the big breakouts, and the stop hunts. But after spending countless hours of studying trading psychology, I've realized something, that the market isn't what destroys most account. It's actually the trader. Not because they're unintelligent, not because they don't have the proper strategy, but because every trading day they're fighting an invisible enemy. One that follows them into every single trade, and one that no indicator can reveal. And you know what it is? It's themselves. You see, the market doesn't force you to overtrade, right? It doesn't even make you move your stop loss, and it doesn't click the buy button after three consecutive losses. It simply presents information, and your mind decides what to do with it. And until you understand that, you keep fighting the wrong battle. So imagine two traders, same chart, same strategy, same entry, and same stop loss. One exit exactly according to plan, and the other moves the stop. Adds to the loser. Revenge trades after that, and eventually blows the account. So what changed? Not the market, is the person that's looking at it. You see, there's that strange thing about trading. You see, like the market behaves like a mirror. It does not create your emotions. It just reveals them. If you're impatient, the market exposes impatience. And if you're afraid, it exposes fear. And if your ego needs to be right, oh boy, the market definitely finds a way to test it. And most people think that the chart is telling them something about price action, but sometimes it's actually telling them something about themselves. And people often say, trading builds character, right? And honestly, sometimes I don't think that's true. I think trading reveals character. Like, you don't discover your patience until you watch price sit one tick away from your entry for 20 minutes. You don't discover your discipline until you've taken three losses in a row. Like, you don't discover your humility until the market proves your beautiful analysis is completely wrong. And before I started learning about trading psychology, I thought my biggest problem was finding a better strategy, maybe a better indicator, a better entry model. But I eventually realized that I wasn't even changing strategies because they didn't work. I was changing strategies because I was comfortable. I was not comfortable with uncertainty. And uncertainty is something every trader has to live with. Look, the human brain, they crave certainty. They want to know what's going to happen next. Like, we want guarantees. We want predictable outcomes. And that's why school makes sense. Study hard, get good grades, work hard, earn a promotion, practice, get better. And trading refuses to play by those rules. And you can do everything correctly, right? And still lose. You can follow your plan perfectly to the T, and at the end of the day, you can still end up being red. At first that feels unfair, and then your brain starts searching for certainty somewhere else. Another strategy, another indicator, maybe another mentor, and or another YouTube video. And the search never ends. Because the problem isn't missing information, it's trying to remove something trading will never remove, and that's uncertainty. One thing I've learned is that the market never lies, and people do. Not to others, to themselves. Like we all tell themselves, like we all tell ourselves, right? I'll just move my stop only this once. Or they say, this trade is different, and I know it will all come back, and I'll quit after this trade. Yeah, right. You see, you notice something? Like, because every emotional mistake, there's usually a story. A story that makes an emotional decision sound logical. The story isn't the problem, believing it is. Professional traders still hear those stories, but they simply don't treat it these stories. They don't treat these stories as truth. They actually take a pause, they question it, and they ask, is this thing that's going in my head, is this coming from my trading plan or from my emotions? That single question could literally save thousands of dollars over a career. So, here's one of the biggest mindset shifts I've ever met. All right. The goal, like see that actually apply this for your tomorrow's trade as well. Like the goal isn't to win today's trade, is to become the same trader, whether today's trade is a win or a lose. And think about that. Like if your confidence depends on winning, then every single loss changes who you are. Or if your mood depends on your P&L, then the market controls your emotion, and just sad. Like if your identity depends on becoming right on every trade, then every stop loss feels personal. And honestly, like that's so exhausting and it's unnecessary. Professional traders don't accept Professional traders don't expect every trade to work. They expect themselves to follow the process, and that's a huge difference. Most traders ask, how do I become more disciplined? And I think there's a better question. What they should be asking is that, what keeps me falling away from discipline? Because discipline isn't usually destroyed in one dramatic moment. It's destroyed one small decision at a time. One early entry, one move stop, one extra trade, and one emotional reaction. And none of those decisions feel significant by themselves, right? But together, especially in the long run, they quietly change the direction of your account. Just like a ship changing course by 1 degree. Minutes later, they look the same. Maybe a mile later, they look the same, but keep on going. With that, just 1 degree. Small emotional decisions create massive long term consequences. And that's why awareness matters. And honestly, like you can't fix on something that you don't even notice. Look, people spend years searching for an edge, a new strategy, maybe a new indicator, a better entry. But what if your biggest edge isn't on the chart? It's the ability to remain calm. And when everybody else becomes emotional, think about it. When a trader panic, you're patient. And when a trader chase, you wait. When a trader revenge trade, you close the platform, and that's your edge right there. Not because it predicts the market better, but because it allows your strategy to actually work. And the best strategy in the world means nothing if your emotions never allow it to actually execute it and let it play out. So here's the conclusion. The market is not your enemy. It never was. And it doesn't know your name. It doesn't even know your account balance. And it doesn't even know that you had 3 losing days in a row. It just simply moves. It does its own thing. The real battle has always been internal, against fear, against impatience, against ego, and against the need to control what can never be controlled. And maybe that's why trading is one of the difficult things a person can do. Not because the charts are complicated, but because they force us to confront ourselves. And every candle becomes a lesson, and every loss becomes feedback, and every trading day asks the same question. Can you stay true to your process even though your emotions telling you something different? Because in the end, the trader who survived aren't necessarily the smartest. They aren't the one with the most indicators or with the most expensive cores. They're the ones who realized that the greatest edge they'll ever develop is mastering the person behind the screen, and that's you. So, master your mind, master the market. This is NQ. State of mind. If you like this video, help me out. Like and subscribe. All right. We'll see you, trader.